Okay, so we already did our numbers, 41 through 60. We slid those in with our review. Okay, so for finger spelling, then there's a couple things I want to talk about. So whenever I went through and I did the receptive quiz with you guys and I spelled words, then a lot of you, just like I used to do, and one of the things is that nobody told me this until like way later, and then I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Why does nobody ever say this, okay? So whenever you finger spell something, okay, first of all, let me talk about expressive. Okay, so that means when I'm the one doing it myself, when I'm the one finger spelling something. Okay, not when you're trying to figure out what I'm saying, but when you're the one who's finger spelling, okay? So whenever you're doing it expressive, that's what it's called, then you want to do it fluid. So you can do it very much like this. Like if I was going to sign book, I could go B-O-O-K. Okay, so I can do it very clear. And if you go online and you, like, if you took a picture of my hand like this, and you took a picture of my hand like this, and you took another picture of my hand like this, and another picture of my hand like this would be like the perfect textbook. You could put them all together and look at it and clearly know exactly what sign I said. But when I actually finger spell, I do not make my B as strong as I can in the exact right angle and turn it just so and hold it exactly for a long time. I go book. Okay, so even when I did book, I kind of like threw my K forward. I kind of blended my O's together, book. So whenever I actually finger spell, it's not the best practice to just be like super lazy with it, but be lazy with your hand when you do it a little bit. Okay, so when you're learning, you still want to like, this is the full sign for B, this is for O, this is for O, this is for K. But at the same time, when you finger spell, the way that you get faster is to go book. And you just kind of blend it together. So you kind of want to think about it just like blending, kind of like you were just being lazy and you didn't feel like completely making every single letter. So you still know that this is a B. You still know that this is an O. And I moved it there and it held it long enough for an O. And then I went to a K, but it's not this. Okay? Yeah?
I noticed when I'm spelling my name, since it has a double letter in it, when I'm trying to do it fast, I end up doing all the letters this way.
Yeah, sometimes you kind of tend to drag it across, but you still got to keep your elbow like in the same spot and spell it. So you can have a little bit of like moving it around a little bit, but generally you want to keep it in the same spot. Because you don't want to like, if you're spelling something long, you don't want to be all the way like across, because it's really annoying to read. Like there's some things, like one class that I interpret, there's a lot of words in it that are like the technical words for things, and my student needs to know what those are. So I start off, you know, and I will like start here, and like if I started here to finger spell, I'd be like this word, and this word, and this word, and this word, because I have to keep moving over, and some of them are long, so I kind of like, I do have to like do this one, and then this one, and this one, like do it that way for that. But whenever you finger spell, you do want to stay right here where it's at. Because the other thing about finger spelling, I'll get to that in the receptive part, but whenever you are looking at someone's finger spelling, you're actually not allowed to look at their hand. So the entire time that someone's signing, you're supposed to just be looking at their eyes. So in signing, then your eye gaze is very important. You want to have your eyes locked on that person the whole time. So a lot of times with hearing people, then like we don't look at each other for very long. Like if I just sit here and like this, everybody would be like, can she look somewhere else already? But in signing, then you do. You look at that person the entire time and you have this conversation. And it's not awkward or weird or anything like that, but this is how you talk to someone. Just like if you like turned off your ears for a minute in the middle of a conversation would be kind of like what that's comparable to. So whenever you do sign, or someone's signing to you, then you're looking at that person the whole time and just staring at their eyes. And then that way, and then actually you don't turn and like look at their signs wherever they're signing. You just look at their face and out of your peripheral vision, then you see the rest of what's being said. And that's why you want to keep your finger spelling right here. Because if you're off over here, it's really hard to see out here if you try. So you want to keep it right here where they can look at your eyes and just see your hand out of the corner of their eye that way. So whenever you finger spell, then you do want to be slightly more fluid with it. That's how you get a little bit faster. If I was to do my name, just the textbook standard, this is how I'm going to teach you each letter. But do you know how I really spell my name? I did not make every letter completely. I went like this. Okay, so I was like C most of the way. I could have opened it up a little bit more. So C-O, kind of slipping down to a U, going to an R, but my T is already coming down, and sliding my N over to the E, kind of to the Y. Because I'm not going to like this because it would take forever. So, and it really would, and there's no time to do slow like that. So if I was going to fingerspell something, it'd be like exploring the plant world.
So a deaf person would understand that?
They would, yeah. Okay. And when you get into a full conversation, then, and you get up to that skill level, then you would understand this too. So that's the norm, that's just regular speed for spelling.
So is it kind of like you're abbreviating the words?
It is kind of like that. You don't purposely
Right.
cut off like the end of a word. Like you don't like for appointment, you wouldn't go APPT or something like that. But you would like, you kind of like abbreviate. You abbreviate how fully you make your letter. Kind of like if you think about when you're writing something. If you're going to like make it super readable, then you would make every letter just so. But if you're like in a hurry, then it kind of comes out more like this, and you can still read it. You still know that that's a G, and you think that's either an O or an A. It's something right there. But if you like put all the other letters together, you would know what it was. So a lot of times, then like a couple letters will kind of get squished together, but you would at least understand what the first letter was, because you kind of pause just long enough on the first letter, and then go to something else. So if I just said B, and then I did something, you couldn't see my hand, and then I went to a K, you have a couple options. It could be back. It could be book, it could be like, yeah, bank, like, so you have a couple options, but you get the general idea. Now, based on the context, if I'm saying, I'm going to the B something K, you're going to fill it in with, okay, well, what word could that be talking about? I just said I got my paycheck, where do you think I'm going? Bank. So it kind of all fits together. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just signing.
Oh, you're good. Awesome. So anyway, yeah. So
One
the
is
more you
like
practice,
finger printing and one is finger cursive, you know?
yeah, that's
Where it
kind of
just
more of
kind
a
of
like,
flows all
yes,
together.
yeah. So when I fingerspell something for you guys, and I want you guys to be able to get it, to catch it, then I'm going to go slower. I'm going to pause on each thing. But when I fingerspell with someone who's deaf or someone else who's hearing that understands it faster, then I'll go at regular speed and just go here. So I don't fully make every letter, and when I do like make a letter, then it's just kind of mostly there. So, but then again, like let's say it was a new word that that person didn't know, maybe it's somebody's name that's different that you've never heard of before, I would take a little bit more time and explain that. Because if my name, nobody understands it. You can be really great at being deaf and like totally catch it, or like, but even the people who are deaf, like, and fingerspell at the speed of light, don't catch my name the first time. So even if I can fingerspell my name this fast, nobody else will get that. So I can go court, name. I can kind of break it up and show them what my name is. But if I just like automatically went like this, my name, they'd be like, can you do that again? So I do have to pick my speed, especially when I'm introducing myself, like a new word, or I'm saying a new term for something, or spelling something they would know. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get fast?
A long time. A really long time. Because that was one of the hardest things for me was fingerspelling. Because I would be like, I don't understand, how is it that everybody else does it? That's why I was saying, like, I want to clue you guys in now, because I didn't understand that there was a faster way to do it, and that it's just kind of like getting a little bit looser with your hand, a little bit more sloppy with it. So it's taken me years to get to the point where I can go like this more, but it's really the more that you practice too. So if I actually use signing every day, then it works that way, but if not, then I get slower. So one of the ways that people say to practice is like if you're driving, down the freeway, then they will fingerspell the different signs, like as it's on the overpass, like what the next street is. Go through and fingerspell that before you get to the next place. And just keep practicing that way. Or when you see a letter and you're sitting somewhere, start practicing, do it with both hands, And you guys can like stretch your fingers too, and that kind of thing. That helps a little bit too. The more that you practice, the more looser your fingers will get, and just being able to get to the shapes faster. Like a lot of you guys, when you make a number 3, I can do my number 3 like this, but a lot of people are more like this because they haven't practiced it. Just their body hasn't like gotten to the point where it can control it that much. But because I do this all the time, I do it all before, then it's easier for me to go into that. So the more that you get accustomed to doing something, then the easier it'll get. Okay. So we talked about that. Okay, now the other thing is that when I do fingerspell something, okay, so if I'm going through it and I'm fingerspelling like I did hair first. Okay, so I did H-A-I-R. Now, the good part is that you're able to look at it and go, okay, that's an H, that's an A, that's an I, and that's an R. But the best thing for you guys to do whenever I spell something is not to look at it and go H. You want to look at it and go R. So just like when a kid is learning to read and you teach them to sound it out, you don't want them to say every word or every letter, because then you have to remember all the letters. If it was a word like exploring, like I did earlier, by the time you got to the end, it would be really hard to remember what all those are. So the best way that you can do it is just to go up there and be like, exploring. So you know in your mind what letter can fit with that. If you had to hear and you're like X, and then L, and then you like missed it, you know it's not going to be like a Z there, you know, like, you know what sound fits there. So even if you missed the O, then you can still be like exploring. Okay, and so you would get it. And so in the same way, then whenever you guys see it, then start sounding it out rather than saying the letter names. And that'll help you be able to catch it quicker too. Okay?